Mayor Ford,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bullock,
Here.
Councilmember Amador,
Present.
Councilmember Teeter,
Here.
Councilmember Carson,
Present.
Councilmember Diaz,
Here.
Councilmember Bullock, Councilmember McEldowney, here. Councilmember Elliott,
Present.
and Councilmember Douglas.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. And for the record, everyone is here tonight. I want to welcome you all. Tonight is a special night. Only happens about once every other year in Commerce City, and hasn't happened for a long time at the magnitude that it's going to happen tonight. So thank you all for being here. I want to start by asking everybody to stand, and we'll have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And before we do so, normally we have a minister here to give an invocation because it's such a special night. We weren't able to make that happen, so if you'll all keep in your prayers the outgoing members of this council and the new members coming on to this council and the council that will be for the next 2 years in your thoughts and prayers.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Laura. Great, thank you. Yeah, and tonight we didn't have any folks that signed up for citizen communication, and I just want to let the audience know that when we're done and we go into the lobby, there will be a microphone for people to be able to talk about some of the people that are going off of council and some of the people that are going on to council. So you'll have an opportunity to speak about those folks later this evening. So we'll move to approval of the minutes. We have the October 16th, 2017 minutes. I'm open for a motion. Mr. Douglas.
Move to approve meeting minutes of October 6, 2017.
16th.
16th.
Yep, Mr. McEldowney. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Now we have the November 6th, 2017 minutes. I need a motion and a second to allow Councilmember McEldowney and Councilman Amador to abstain from voting. Mr. Bullock.
So moved.
Mr. Teeter. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion's carried. Now I need a motion and a second to approve the minutes of November 6th. Mr. Bullock.
Move to approve the minutes of November 6, 2017.
Mr. Teeter.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion's carried. Now we have the September 18th, 2017 minutes. I'm open for a motion to approve those minutes. Mr. Amador.
Move to approve meeting minutes of September 18th, 2017.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. I think it's kind of neat, Mr. Bullock, wanting to make a motion or second on every item tonight. And I know it's just because he wants to get his licks in before he goes off. All right. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes items that are routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, and non-controversial. They are presented to council for a single motion and vote. Any member of council may ask to remove a specific item for further discussion and a separate vote. Tonight there are 15 items listed under the consent agenda. Does anyone on council wish to remove an item off of the consent agenda for further discussion? Mr. Douglas.
Yes. I'd like to remove Resolution 2017-114 and Resolution 2017-130.
Okay. We will pull those off, and the attorney can make a note.
Let me make a clarification. Just want to not pull off 2017-14, but Resolution 2017-130 instead. So just one,
Just the one.
just a one.
All right. Tell me that number again, 2017
Dash 130.
dash 13?
130.
130.
sorry.
Thank you. All right. So we took it down from 2 to 1. At least that helps. All right, Mr. McEldowney.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Bullock. Mr. Bullock.
Second. I didn't have my light on that time.
I know you didn't. I'm not going to let you get away with it. All right. I have a motion and a second. Will the city attorney please read the titles of the consent agenda?
Ordinance 2146, an ordinance amending the Land Development Code and enacting and authorizing the collection of a development fee for fire and emergency services. Ordinance 2152, an ordinance amending the 2017 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by the recognition of the State of Colorado Department of Natural Resources funding agreement in the amount of $1,160,000 for the Sand Creek Open Space Remediation and Restoration Project and the authorization of the expenditure thereof. Ordinance 2153, an ordinance vacating a non-active utility easement for the property described on Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof, consisting of a portion of Lot 3 of the Hogan Commercial Subdivision, filing number 7, City of Commerce City, Colorado. Ordinance AN 24617, an ordinance approving and accomplishing the annexation of a contiguous unincorporated territory described in Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof, generally located north of East 81st Avenue, west of Tower Road, and directly east of the Rocky Mountain Arsenal National Wildlife Refuge, Commerce City, Colorado. Ordinance AN 24917, an ordinance approving and accomplishing the annexation of contiguous unincorporated territory described in Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof, located at 8330 Ulster Street, Commerce City, Colorado. Ordinance Z896, 1112, 16, 17, an ordinance approving the DIA Tech Center PUD Zone Document Amendment Number 2. Ordinance Z94317, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance and zoning map of the City of Commerce City, Colorado for rezoning to PUD Zone District and approving a PUD Zone Document for the property described in Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof, generally located on the north and south side of East 84th Avenue, west of Ulster Street, northeast of Ulster Street, and east of 83rd Avenue, and a portion of the adjacent property at Ulster Street and East 83rd Avenue, Commerce City, Colorado. Ordinance V8717, an ordinance vacating a right-of-way on the property described on Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof, consisting of a portion of Ulster Street, City of Commerce City, Colorado. Resolution 2017-114, award of contract for Tower Pena Ramp Construction Management Services. Resolution 2017-115, award of GMP contract for Eagle Point Recreation Center construction. Resolution 2017-126, resolution regarding posting locations for ordinances and public meetings. Resolution 2017-127, resolution canceling city council meetings that fall on officially scheduled city holidays. Resolution 2017-131, resolution approving intergovernmental agreement between the City of Commerce City and the City of Brighton establishing a shared sex assault task force. Resolution 2017-132, resolution approving intergovernmental agreement between the City of Commerce City and the City of Brighton establishing a shared victim services unit.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Titles have all been read. I'll ask for a roll call vote. For the record, the consent agenda has passed unanimously by the City Council this evening. We have one item that was pulled off the consent agenda, 2017-130 resolution. Mr. Douglas, how do you want? You want more information? What do you want to?
Yes, because looking at the information that was given to us, and I understand that Castle Rock was the lowest bidder, and but I'm looking at the quality of work Flatiron has done on Highway 2, Tower Road. They've done a phenomenal job on the bridge going over Third Creek. And it just, looking at quality of work, because we haven't had this amount of construction in Commerce City for, way before my time. And I know we're always trying to save taxpayers money. In this case, I was wondering because Flatirons ended up being second out of 12 bids. They ended up being second. I know this would say the city less than $1 million. But I'll look at the track record, and Flatirons has proven to me they have been consistent. They've cared about as far as our traffic, working with our constituents here and making sure the traffic flows. Nothing was shut down on there for too long of a period of time. We do have some bumps and bruises as far as relocating the traffic around Buckley and 88th, but besides that, I look at the construction on 104th going west over 76, and we had construction done there. You get off that bridge and the road twist. Flatirons, there was a comment I saw on social media that at all the potholes we have, and you drive down this road here, you don't hit one pothole. You get to Denver, and you're hitting every pothole. And that's even after construction. So I think they've done a great job. And I just want to know from our project manager, why did they decide? I mean, this person wasn't the sole person to decide this, but what came about that we're going to pick Castle Rock Construction when we should be looking at best value?
Mr. McBrill?
I certainly appreciate Councilman Douglas's comments. Staff, quite honestly, was disappointed that Flatiron wasn't the lowest responsible bidder. We do have representatives of the program management team that can perhaps shed some additional light on why Castle Rock was selected.
Please.
Good evening. Scott Hergenrader, Program Manager for the Measure 2K Bond Program. It's an excellent question. Obviously, as you already noted, Councilman, this was a highly competitive process. We marketed this widely because of the market conditions within the greater Metro Denver area, and we have been typically seeing many bids coming in far in excess of the engineer's estimate. As you know, this is a very complicated project. There's a lot of moving parts and pieces in terms of the coordination with not only Denver International Airport, but with the City and County of Denver. One of the stipulations that was discussed and agreed with the City and County of Denver was how do we assure we're going to get the most competitive price by the responsible and responsive bidders that were out there. First and foremost, we are absolutely pleased that we got 12 bids, and all 12 of those bids exceeded our expectations in being under the engineer's estimate, so that was phenomenal. We, too, thought that Flatiron, along with many other contractors, were looking at this project because it is a highly visible project and would have a good, strong chance of bidding because of the size of the contract. And when all bidders came forward, Castle Rock Construction proved to be the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. And they also do a number of very complicated, high visible projects throughout the Denver metropolitan area based on our experience with others. So based on the stipulations that were in the IGA to select the lowest possible bidder, which was important to Denver City Council, as we know cost, as you already pointed out, is important to the City of Commerce City Council and the wise and transparent use of taxpayer dollars. That was the reason for the recommendation to select Castle Rock Construction for this project.
Thank you. Now, on Tower Road, when we had the bid for that, we just had two bidders at that time, right?
That was bid back in early 2016. I don't recall how many bidders that we had, Councilman.
And I don't think Flatirons was the lowest bidder on that one.
I don't recall.
Okay. So, I mean, if we're going to go with that, and we need to be consistent, and I think we weren't consistent on that for them being the lowest bidder. I think we were looking at best value like a lot of other projects, the rec center, and so I just have to say, I mean, this is just me looking at this and looking at the future of our city, and then making sure, because that on-ramp and to keep things going, because Flatiron still has work they have to do on Tower Road. May do some work here with the road between Potomac and Chambers on 112th. I'm not sure. The bid's going to be out for that, whatever that looks like. But for what we have in front of us, I think we really need to look at this and understand, and what exactly, as far as construction, is there going to be? I mean, I know we have our there's going to be utility lines that had to meet up with ours with the water line from Denver. I mean, all that has to be put in as well, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of utility relocation and coordination that's also going to take place, not only with the city and county of Denver and the utilities, but also with Denver International Airport. As it relates to the other point you just mentioned, Councilman, these were two separate contracts done essentially a year and a half apart. The selection criteria was established for each of these contracts and published as part of the request for proposal. So all of the contractors knew what that criteria was. Part of the criteria for this selection was schedule in addition to cost. So there was a component of best value included in this as well. The selection committee on this contract was also comprised of members of the city and county of Denver, and who had a very specific and keen interest in looking at the lowest possible cost as well as the best schedule and essentially the best value for the project. So the selection committee made the selection based on the criteria that was specific to this particular contract. And I'm sorry, I don't recall off the top of my head the exact criteria that was used for Tower Road, but we'd be happy to bring back that comparison if that would be helpful.
Okay. And then when you, so say for instance, if this is not approved and say Flatirons was the select contractor, just saying things were amended, would that go against the Denver? Would that be put back to them to have it approved?
Yes, that would. They were a member of the selection committee, so if a decision were taken different than the recommendation that was offered, that would require going back to Denver for their review and concurrence that was an acceptable approach.
Okay. I just wish we had more knowledge of this before this tonight. You know, we should have had a study session or something before this to know what was going on, and not to be just to come before this tonight on this board, have this approved. I know that everything's, comes to timing and everything. This is the essence. It's very important. So thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Mr. McEldowney.
No comments, sir. I'm prepared to make a motion.
Thank you. Mr. Amador.
I just want to acknowledge the project management team, the public works team for getting this done in a timely manner, considering the intergovernmental agreement that went with the city and county of Denver. This project, I agree, is very different than the Tower Road project because we actually had partners and different processes in the city and county of Denver. I'm a little cautious when I see the low bidder low of about $900,000. However, that is the process with the city and county of Denver and what I believe we need to do as good stewards of taxpayer dollars. That being said as well, I'm sure it's a performance spec, and I will look to the project management team to make sure that the materials testing and everything is installed in accordance with the construction documents and the specifications. So I'm confident that even though we have a low bidder, that we will get a quality product. So on that note, I will be voting yes.
I do want to say a few things about it. First and foremost, I happen to agree with my colleague, Mr. Douglas. When you have a contractor that's doing what they're doing in Commerce City with Highway 2, Tower Road, and how effective they've been and the quality that we've seen, it's really hard when they have the yellow iron on site to not have this contract and to continue on. And I guess I also agree with Mr. Amador. We have a process that took place, and the city of Denver is going to own this roadway once it's built, not the city of Commerce City. We'll get the ramp in and we'll get everything built. The only concern I have is when we have somebody that's built Tower Road up to that point and you switch contractors to get up to speed and to figure out what's going to happen, I worry that change orders that could take place could eat up the savings of what we could have had if we would have went with Flatiron to begin with. But giving the scenario where we have an intergovernmental agreement with Denver and they're part of this selection team, I have to honor that and put my trust behind Castle Rock Construction and hope that we get the same quality results that we've seen with Flatiron. And I want to also say that Flatiron's welcome to do work in this town anytime.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So I will be supportive as well, Mr. Amador. All right, with that said, we need to get a motion and a second on Resolution 2017-130. I'm going to go back to Mr. McEldowney.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve Resolution 2017-130.
Thank you. Mr. Teeter.
Second.
A motion and a second. You want to read the title, please?
Yes. Resolution 2017-130, resolution to authorize award of contract for construction services with Castle Rock Construction Company of Colorado.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Let the record show. 8 in favor, 1 opposed. Motion carries. We'll go to Resolution 2017-24. Is there anyone on council who has any questions regarding this item? Seeing none. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to come forward and address the City Council on this item? Seeing none. I'm open for a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2017-24. Mr. Amador.
Move to approve Resolution 2017-24 as presented.
Thank you. Mr. Teeter.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Will you please read the title?
Resolution 2017-24, resolution authorizing the submission of the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report for the 2016 Community Development Block Grant Program year.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion's carried. All right. Now, we come to the fun part of the meeting. Outgoing council recognition. So this is going to be tough for a few people up here, including myself, but we'll get through it. We have the congressional records presentation, and I want to move forward with recognizing the 4 outgoing members. And I'd like to invite Hannah Mullen with Congressman Ed Perlmutter's office forward to present the congressional records. Please. Good evening.
Hi. Good evening. So I am here this evening on behalf of my boss, Congressman Ed Perlmutter. He sends his apologies for not being here. He's in D.C. right now. But he wanted me to thank Mayor Pro Tem Bullock, Councilman McEldowney, Councilman Amdor, and Councilwoman Carson for your years of service to the city of Commerce City. So I have congressional records that have been entered in, I think they were entered in last Thursday, to the official record of the United States House of Representatives, and I was hoping I could present them to each one of you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You want them to come down one at a time. We'll start with Mayor Pro Tem Bullock.
Sure.
Please, step on down. You can come back up this time.
I was not planning to read these because they're kind of lengthy.
That's
just
fine.
For the time, so I'll just present it to you. Okay, so let me make sure they're all. So here you go. Thank you so much. Yeah, I will.
Jason?
Congratulations.
JD? JD? Okay. And young Amador. Thank you very much. Okay. Now we'll have a few moments to share some remarks. We're going to start this process with Councilman Amador. I would like to say that, you know, he's been a great council member to work with. At first, when he got on this council, I've always referred to him as Young Amador, and then I quit. And one day he asked me, he said, ain't I young anymore? What's the problem, Mayor? But he always came across to me as Young Amador, and I have to tell you, one of my favorite things about having Andrew on this council is that he brought a specialty of being an architect. And so with all these city projects that we have going on, like the new water park, the new rec center, the reconstruction of the old rec center, he has brought a whole another value to this council because of his ability to read and understand plans and what may be wrong, what may be right, how to effectively handle some of the things we've had to handle. So it was great to have him here to talk about what he sees as an architect serving the residents of Commerce City. And I have to tell you, the residents were very lucky to have Mr. Amador be a councilman for the last 4 years. Not only was he a good council member, he's a great friend, and he is a very, very good person. And I know he's not going anywhere. He will still be in our community, and I know he will still be watching the rest of us to make sure that we don't step out of line, because I wouldn't expect anything less from any of these outgoing council members. So with that, I want to thank you very much for the time I've got to spend with you and the time that you've served your community. So thank you, Mr. Amador. I want to ask the City Council if they have any comments before I turn it over to you. Anyone on council have anything they'd like to say about Young Amador? Mr. Teeter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sean, you put exactly the same sentiments that I have told him a couple times. What he has brought to this council is priceless. And Sean hit it right on the nose. It's the things that he enlightened us on as council, things we did not know what we were talking about. He was there to straighten us out and help things move along. He did a great job with the work, the contractors that come into this city. He worked with them and found out what things that we could improve on and how we could streamline our process here in the city. He did a great job with School District 14, and that was a tough one. And he also was great for the minority people of Commerce City, and we are definitely going to miss this young man.
Mr. Diaz.
I'm probably the only one on council who can't call him Young Amador. You know, Sean and Rick did a good job of speaking to Andrew's professional testimonies, obviously. But speaking from a personal point of view, I think I was able to relate to you a lot more than probably a lot of other people on here. Just being new to council, you definitely kind of took me in, especially in D.C. when I forgot to pack a tie. And Andrew was there to show me his collection that he happened to have in his suitcase. And he was also, you know, the one who advised me as to which one I should wear. So sitting in the back of the taxis and some great conversations and really trying to go through this whole thing together of trying to balance the professional life with the city council life with a family that we love with young kids. And so I know it was a tough decision for you to not run, and so for that you will be missed. But at the same time, I'm glad that I got to spend the last couple of years with you, so thank you.
Mr. Douglas.
Yes. I really appreciate Andrew Amador's vision of our projects in our city, and he has been the catalyst when it comes to with the design and making sure things are on time and anything around the contingencies. And so he's made me much wiser as far as, especially with the new rec center. We sat side by side and we had extended conversations about, you know, what can this rec center be, and we mulled it over, and I think we extended that time out to make sure everything's done proper. So when this rec center opens up, everybody's going to understand the vision and what came behind this, and so it's hard to see Andrew leave. And we've had several conversations about him continuing and trying to balance things out. But when it comes to family, we don't forget that our family comes first, and that's a struggle we all sacrifice. And I appreciate the time that Andrew has committed to the city. Has been a great sacrifice, and I appreciate that.
Mr. Amador, I have to give you a lot of credit when you brought the letter your daughter wrote and showed it to me about why it is that you could not run for re-election. What most people from the outside and those who serve don't understand. And I would tell this to the four incoming. Family comes first. It's great that you committed your time to your community, but raising a young girl and wanting to be there for her, I think you made the right decision. And we will miss you, but thank you for the time you have given. All right. Let me see. I got a couple more. Councilwoman Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Double A, as I so kindly and fondly refer you as, it's been great working with you, serving on this council for the last 5 years. I can honestly say that I appreciate your humor, our little banters back and forth with silly pictures of Muppet videos and whatever it took to get through the night of some tough decisions. But mostly I was most admirable of your passion for our community. And so I just want to thank you once again from the bottom of my heart. A lot of my colleagues have already said a lot of things that I wanted to say. But I only wish the best for you and the Amador familia. So I will see you around town, young Amador. You're not too far away. But again, I wish you well.
All right. I'm going to move on to the next. Councilwoman Carson.
Oh, wait, can I speak for myself real
quick? No, you can't. That's right. I told you I was going to let you speak. You get some time. Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Amador. Go ahead.
I'm out of here.
You're going.
Good night. No, I'm kidding. First and foremost, I want to thank all the council members that I've served with. Everyone has brought a great perspective. Councilman Douglas, for sure. We've had numerous conversations back and forth about particular items that come before us. Crystal, we've had, I'm going to really make it quick, but we've had some pretty good joking moments because in all seriousness, if you don't laugh sometimes you'll go crazy. So we would have to get a kick out of that sometimes. Mr. McEldowney, Councilman McEldowney, we've had some spirited conversations about different items, and as we present things in front of the camera, everything was not always peachy and easygoing, but we would agree to disagree, or we would disagree without being disagreeable. And so that was challenging at times, especially with a lot of the items that came before us. Mayor Pro Tem Bullock, gosh, I've known this guy for a long time, since even probably middle school. And so our history goes way back, and I know he's going to miss being on the city council as well, and it's going to be tough, but I'm sure we will see him in the community. Mr. Teeter, Councilman Teeter, I just call him Mr. just because it just feels right and we're family. But Rick, it's been a pleasure sitting next to you and having the conversations that we've had sometimes in the heat of the moment when they're going really quickly in front of us. Councilman Carson, J.D. Carson, she's actually been a pretty good mentor for me in general, and I leaned on her at times. Not only did they lean on me. And my twin, Councilman Diaz, we'd always make sure that we weren't wearing the same color suit or standing next to each other in pictures, because everyone would call me Paulo and they would call him Councilman Amador. So we tried very hard not to sit next to each other in pictures. And last but not least, Mayor Sean Ford. What a great asset to the community. came through Public Works, has had approximately 18 years in the city, and his heart is in the right place. And so I believe the city is in the best hands possible that's out there. That being said, I want to acknowledge my family. The reason that I did not run for city council again was because my daughter Isabella, who's 9 years old, wrote me a letter that said, "Daddy, I really, really, really missed you." And the first sentence was GRR, GGGRRRRRRR. I'm serious. I really mean this. I wish you could spend more time with me. And she wrote that as a second grader in April of 2016. And I taped it to my dresser. I want to thank my wife because she supported me through everything. There is a lot of time that you spend away from your family on boards and commissions, on other events outside of city council. So I always say behind every successful man is an exhausted woman, so she's sitting right over there. And then at one point I always said I just ran for city council, one, because I wanted to make my mama happy. And my mama's sitting in the front row, sitting right there. So thanks, Mom, for all of your support. And then last but not least, I want to thank the city staff. And so when I got on council, we passed $166 million in bonds for capital improvements around the city. And everybody that was in the city already had a daytime job, and we just piled a whole bunch more on top of them. And not only did we pile it on top of them, we gave them a commitment to the community of 5 projects in 5 years, which was really 8 projects in 5 years. And so I can exit saying that we are on schedule and we are on task to complete and fulfill our commitments as a city. And so we couldn't have done it without the city staff as well. So that being said, thank you.
All right. JD, you're up. How do you like that? No, you don't like it. A few things I'd like to share about JD. When I first got back onto city council, JD was one of these people who went through a fairly rough first term, to say the least. I'm being nice. And she didn't know if she wanted to stay on council because it was very exhausting. And I told her, no, it would be okay. You need to stay. And the two of us are, I wouldn't say polar opposites on, pretty close. I'm being nice, JD. It's my time to be nice. On major issues. And the good thing is that we're a nonpartisan board. And I think that's what's great, is that we don't play partisan politics while we serve on this city council. And JD could be as far left as she wants, and I could be as far right as I want. And we can disagree on things that we never have to vote or have any authority on. But we still love each other dearly, and we're able to talk about all of those issues. And if our federal government could only have a similar opportunity, they'd get some things done. Because even though I don't disagree on a lot of big items with JD, we both agree that there's a balance and there's a way to get there. And I have to give her credit for that, because it's not one of those people that you go and you just get into an argument and you both walk away mad. We can sit down and we can talk about all the tough things in the world and figure out whether we should shoot North Korea or not. And we walk away going, you know what? someone ought to be diplomatic and stop it from happening, right? Right. But we have that ability to visit. And I think that's one of JD's best qualities is she's open to communication, and she has brought that to the city council. She's been very good about being kind of the mother hen to the rest of the council and trying to make sure, look, this is the way it is, and she's just a great, very wonderful person, and I know she takes her job very seriously. There's no doubt in my mind JD's not done doing whatever she's going to do. She will be on some board, some committee, another board member for whether it be a fire district, a water district. Who knows? Maybe she'll be on the governor's panel. I don't know. You'll do more than just what you have done, and you've done a good job. Me and JD live in the same subdivision, and so it's been great because JD gets complaints from the neighbors, and she tells them to call me. So she, and I want the new council members to know that's not how it works. Okay? Just so you know, don't do that. But she will always come to me and go, "Did you hear that? Did you see that car?" So always these things in our neighborhood. But I have to tell you one story, and she's going to hate that I tell it. Oh yes, I'm going to. We had a gun manufacturer in Commerce City, and they were called M&M Gun Company, and it was several years ago, and they were building and selling AK-47s, and I am an outdoorsman and a gun enthusiast. JD, not so much. And so one day I was talking to, I don't know if it was the city attorney, Bob Gaylor, or who it was, somebody about the fact that I got to go over and tour this company, and I was impressed. These guys were building some really nice stuff. It was in an undisclosed location, and Councilwoman Carson overheard me, and she said, "Oh my God, we've got a gun company in Commerce City. We need to run them out of town. We need to get rid of them right now. We don't need that kind of company in Commerce City." And I said, whoa, wait a minute. They're paying taxes just like any other business. They're not doing anything wrong. And we had one of those debates that I just talked about. Well, they're no longer around. They left the city. And I thought, oh, my goodness, this is where me and JD are not going to see eye to eye on all of this stuff. And one day after that, JD called me. And it wasn't too long after Christmas. And JD said, "Mayor, I've got a little bit of a problem, and I hate to call you. Of all people, I hate to call you." And I go, "Okay, what's the problem?" She said, "My son bought our grandson a .22 rifle for Christmas, and we cannot find ammunition anywhere." And I said, I know. She goes, "You happen to know where I can get some?" And I said, "Well, I've got about 10,000 rounds, and I would gladly sell you of all people." So Councilwoman Carson came over to my house, and I gave her a great deal just because I wanted the honor of being able to sell this lady some ammunition. So I think I'm getting the edge on her on that item anyway. So I really appreciated that moment. And I had to tell that story. Oh no, you're not. It's not time for you to talk yet. I know you don't need to push your button. You'll get your chance. This is my chance. And it's those moments. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you agree on everything or not. This lady, well, this entire council, but this lady in particular, has served her community well, and has taken the interest of every resident and tried to do the right thing every time she voted. And for that, I thank her. She's a great person, and will always be a great friend of mine. And welcome at my home anytime, same as the rest of the four that are, the other three on top of her that are leaving. So with that, Councilwoman Carson, thank you very much for everything that you have sacrificed at home to give to this community. All right. No, not yet.
Up a little bit
Oh, no,
there?
not yet. I'm going to
Oh.
hear from the rest of the council.
This one will just be really quick.
I've got to have the opportunity to shut you down at least once. At least once.
All the nanas out there
Mr.
would
Amador.
understand.
Mr.
Thank you. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a twist here. So before Paulo was on council, my first month on council, JD used to sit next to Councilman Jim Benson, and I'm sure he's watching right now. And so one day, this lady calls my home phone number, and I'm thinking, how did someone get my home phone number? It's not published, this kind of thing. And so a resident in the core city basically got a notice of violation for having chickens in the city. So we have an ordinance that says you cannot have chickens and roosters in the city. Well, I see we have a commissioner here and an ex-county commissioner here as well. And this lady just happens to run the Adams County Animal Shelter. And I'm like, great. And I kind of knew JD a little bit, but not much. And so the lady goes on to tell me that, her whole story. And I said, well, how did you get my home phone number? And she says, well, Jim Benson gave it to me. And I'm like, Jim Benson? And she goes on to say, and he ended the conversation with, why did the chicken cross the road to get out of Commerce City? And I'm like, wow, okay. And so JD was there to make light of the situation because I was a little upset that someone had my home phone number and calling me at, how long is this going to go on? So thank you, JD, for being the mother hen of all of us.
Mr. Diaz.
She told me not to talk about her age, so guess what I'm doing? First of all, it's really entertaining to sit in between these two. So when they do have their little dialogues happening during council meetings, if you guys notice, I ever just kick back, grab some popcorn, and just entertain myself watching them. But I've had the benefit of getting to sit next to JD for the last couple years, and she hears a lot of what I say during meetings, which most people don't. I do a lot of whispering to her, if you guys haven't noticed. Some of them are on more serious topics, and some of them are just to, as Councilman Amador just kind of pointed out, sometimes you have to make light of situations, because otherwise, if this thing gets pretty serious, then really what's it all about? And so JD has been, dare I say, my rock throughout the last couple years, because she is the one who I have literally turned to and had conversations with and put me in ease and make fun of and pretty much everything in between. And I'm definitely going to miss being next to JD. I know she's not going to miss sitting next to me. Many a times when she'll be saying something, I'm like, when was that? Like, that was before I was born. And then she'll remind me I'm her son's age and all that fun stuff. So she's definitely been a mother hen to me now, as she was back in 2011, my first time doing this. And I will definitely miss you very, very dearly, JD.
Mr. Bullock.
JD, the one thing I can say is that when JD has an issue and she calls you, have time. I can tell you that there's been many a time that I have talked to JD 2 or 3 hours, and when I talk, I have an earpiece, so I run the vacuum, I do laundry, I walk through the whole house, and I'm not a person that can sit down and talk. I have to keep moving. So if my wife's home, she just looks at me and she says, "Who is that?" And I said, "I'm talking to JD." Okay, I understand that. There was an incident when I was running a meeting when Sean, for some strange reason, he wasn't here. And I don't know, I think about it from time to time, and I say to myself, I know why Sean wasn't here for that meeting. But I sat up there, and I wasn't paying attention to council. I was looking at the audience, and I was expressing a view that I had. Some people say it was a rant, but I was actually, and I didn't notice, but JD was telling Paulo, make him stop, and when I stopped and I looked at the council, everybody was looking at me like, so I know I must have made a point, but that was the one time JD has always reminded me, I tried to stop you, but you wouldn't pay attention to anybody on the council. But I can tell you, JD is very deliberate, very direct. She knows what she's doing, and when she is set, she is set. When she has an ideal that is going to go forward, it goes forward. And it doesn't take much to convince you that her ideal is a good one. It might take a couple hours, but it always works. I will miss JD being on council with me. Thank you.
Councilwoman Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Ms. Carson, when we first met and I was introduced to you and you found out I was the only female running in my race for this seat, you said you absolutely have to win, which was already pressure. I met her all of 5 minutes. And the reason was because I can't be the only female sitting up here, so you have to win. And that was probably the point where I knew you supported me, and I felt that there was a connection almost immediately. So 6 years later, from starting we had the fracking, obviously, when I first week on council, which was very, very terrifying. But we had a lot of fun times, from starting conga line dances at the outreaches and the music in the park, concerts, and also to discussing very tough issues where you and I tag team. I like to call us the dynamic duo, or maybe more respectively, Electra Woman and Dinah Girl. We could get T-shirts made after this. It was a woman's perspective because we would see things a little bit differently, the feel, felt, found type perspective, and you and I could bounce those ideas off of each other. And then we would join forces and tell the rest of the council what we thought and what we thought they should think as well. So, but I just want to say I appreciate your insight and your diligence and your dedication to our community. A very passionate woman, none like no other that I've ever encountered, and that's all respectively a positive thing. I will miss serving with you on this council, but I not only consider you a colleague, I consider you a friend. And so it's just a matter of, this is not a goodbye, this is just a farewell for now. Call me. But I'm thankful for the time that we've had. So I wish you and your family the best, and I know I will see you around.
Mr. Douglas.
Ms. Carson, Councilwoman Carson, we first got, first working things out. Sometimes we butt heads, and I really had to do my homework in order to make sure what I was trying to convey with you on discussions made sense, and sometimes that wasn't easy. I do agree with Renee because JD would call up and say, "Steve, you got a minute?" And I'd look at my time and say, I'd do the same thing as Renee. She didn't know that sometimes I was going from the house to the car, and the car would just connect to the phone. Phone to the car, and just trying to figure out when this minute's going to be up. So there's been some lengthy conversations, and I do appreciate my time with her on some of the boards I served with her. She's a great dancer. We just went to our year-end meeting back in North Carolina, and they had the Commodores was the ending act. She said, "Hey, Steve, let's go out here and check this out," and she stood right there the whole time, taking pictures and videotaping. But no, I've learned a lot, and I really appreciate her wisdom and being the person that she is. Because being on council, you just don't get here and learn things on your own. You got to rely on your colleagues, and she was here before me, and we've had some great conversations. Sometimes we get out of council, we go in the parking lot, and we would talk, and I had to be at work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and there's times we're out talking for at least an hour or two. So, and then I'm sorry, JD, that there was a motion on the floor to shorten these meetings because they were quite lengthy, too many of them, and that vote did not go her way. And but But no, I love you. I have a lot of respect for you. I appreciate the time that you have spent here away from your family, and I appreciate you bringing the knowledge of your husband Rick, the fire district, and that knowledge, besides Councilman Teeter, has helped us. And but no, I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Carson, your floor.
Well, they told me I had 5 minutes, and I'm going to take every minute of it. But I'm going to start with Mr. Mayor. I'm going to make the corrections to your story.
Of course you are.
It was a
Of course
girlfriend
you are.
who had bought her grandsons some rifles for Christmas. And there's a code that's shared amongst nanas that these kids get what they want.
Of course.
That's right. So I sucked it up and said, Marilyn, I know where to find bullets. And I will tell all of you, I have paid a price for that. Every chance the mayor gets, that story has been told. And yes, Mr. Benson, things haven't been the same without you here. But anyway, so I had to put my thoughts down on paper. But let me start by congratulating the newly elected councilors. But I want to take this time to speak directly to Ms. Frank. Nicole, thank you for making the decision to put yourself into the race. I know you'll be a fabulous representative for Ward 3 and a great addition to this body. Campaigning isn't easy, but neither is this position, and you have shown you have the desire and the stamina for both. Your passion to serve your community will serve you well in your new role. So thank you. I also want to thank all the Commerce City staff, because without them, we cannot be successful. The city staff from the top all the way to the bottom is exceptional. I give this credit to the city manager. Brian, you have proved to be one of the best decisions this council has ever made. Your high morals and integrity make you a valuable asset to this city. I have been here with you and watched you grow into what I consider the best city manager this city has ever had. Thank you for always believing we can do better. And then I can't leave tonight without personally thanking you, Ms. Halstead. Michelle, you don't know how much I appreciate your help and support over the years. There's never been a time that you haven't had our backs. So thank you. Mr. Smith, thank you also for your help and support. We've had some times. So now to council. Andrew, you've been a great asset to this council. And I'm not going to pay any of you back for all the stuff you said about me. So your knowledge of the world of construction, there's been numerous times I've relied on you and your expertise with our 2K projects. You had some big shoes to fill, and you've come through fabulous. So thank you. Mr. Teeter, my friend, what can I say other than I've really enjoyed having you next to me on this council. Your steadiness, common sense, and lack of drama have always been appreciated. All right, give me a minute. Paulo, your quick wit and happiness is a breath of fresh air. Thank you for always making me smile. And yes, you can have all the candy and money left in my drawer. Steve, I love your passion. You never give up. Your dreams and desires for this city are admirable, so keep it up. Miss Elliott, I've enjoyed every minute of our 6 years serving together, and I too have always felt a kinship with you. You and I both know how important it is to have a female perspective and voice on this council. So go forward, sister. Mr. Mayor, thank you for helping us become a successful council, which only can be accomplished through good leadership. You have been very thoughtful to the members on this council and have always been willing to give us your time and help whenever and wherever needed. You're the reason for our success. All right, now it gets tough. Renee and Jason, I've served my entire 8 years with both of you, and I can't thank either one of you enough. I've spent countless hours with both of you and have learned from each of you. You have both been my sounding board, my complaint department, my book of knowledge, and my friends. Jason, you were the one that reached out to me as a newly elected counselor to help me however possible. You took the time to share things with me that you remembered were tough for new counselors. I will always remember and appreciate the list of acronyms you sent me. I believe it's still in my bag. You newly elected counselors, you will soon learn we don't speak in whole words around here. Renee, thank you for being the mentor you are. I remember I was once asked, who did I trust? And my answer was Renee. Renee, you've always been willing to share your knowledge and experience. And with that being said, let me finish by saying that both of you have not only been my fellow counselors, but also my friend, and I thank you for that. Last but not least, I want to say thank you to my husband, who has spent countless evenings home alone, has attended his fair share of dinner events, and struggled through endless conversations about things most people pay little attention to. So thank you.
Before I let you off the hook, I have Mr. Teeter wanted the opportunity to say something. Mr. Teeter?
Well, thank you, Mayor. It's been fun dealing with JD. I think I probably had the most fun with her. For everybody in the audience, including staff, they were shocked to know that we are cousins. And so when I told staff after we got on here for a while, I says, nobody could believe we were cousins, but her brother is married to my first cousin. So, in fact, I didn't even know it until we went to our first function, and there was my cousin with her brother. Now, that may sound funny to you, but I have an aunt that had 10 kids, and she has over 100 grandkids. So we have a big family. I'm going to take a little bit different perspective here. I think JD understands me more than anybody else up here does because I'm a retired fireman and her husband's a retired fireman. You know, I am her senior, but she has never called me chief yet. But she likes to party. I like to party. Her husband likes to party. I like to party. Our family comes from a party family, and we just click and we get along well. And JD, I'm not going to miss you because we're still going to be partying, so thank you.
Well, Rick, I guess if she's not around, I'll party with you. All right?
No, he can't hang with you.
JD? Oh, I can't. No, that's right. I couldn't even come close to hanging with either of you. Dominic Moreno's mom always wanted us. She always requested an Applebee's. Please get an Applebee's. Please get an Applebee's. JD always talked to the council and said, we need some kind of establishment that sells alcohol up north. And I know we're going to get that, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to see you there. But I'll go home early. You will stay late. With that said, JD, thank you for everything you've done for our community. Now we'll move on to Jason. Jason is probably, out of everybody on the council, was the toughest one for me to figure out as I got back on, to get to understand. I always was kind of leery. What is he thinking? Jason is the one guy that would always help me to remind me things are going a little bit the wrong direction, Mayor. Time to pull it back. The only thing with Jason is sometimes he would start talking words and go into an area, and the rest of the council knows that I just lost myself. But Jason's family was also a firefighting family, and we just had to deal with the fire districts being able to set a fee. And it helps a lot when you have that background. Jason is one of those people who expressed himself wholeheartedly on whatever the issue. I don't care if there were 8 people on this council that felt very strongly about something and Jason felt differently. He was going to tell you why you were wrong. All 8 of you are wrong, and you need to see it my way because I know I'm right. And I have to give him credit because he would stand up against the whole audience on something that he felt that he was right on. And it always helped because as much as I didn't like the meetings going late, because he would 4 and 5 times reiterate his position, he did that to make sure that we were making the right decision. We always had the opportunity to rethink it. He played the devil's advocate, whether he tried to or not, more often than he could imagine. And it's helpful to the council to always see different perspectives. And the one thing I'll always remember about Jason is that he brought his own perspective. And by God, he did the research. And you sit down and you could throw something out there and he would go, really? Here's my research. And he would start texting you in the middle of the meeting, firing off all these different ways to slurry seal a road or whatever it may be. And he did the homework. And he did a great job for this community. And I know one of the things about Jason that I don't have in me anymore that he had, and I don't even know if he has it in him anymore, is with social media nowadays. You see people get on there and they will say this is why this is one way or this is why the trains block the roads and whatever. Jason would always be the one to get on Facebook and say, no, you're wrong. I'm telling you, this is how it is, and I'll give you the evidence, whatever it takes. And he went to battle for every issue that we stood up for in this community on social media, which is, any of you know today, the last thing you want to be is the mayor and say something on social media because nobody, I'm just telling you, you will just get land blasted because there are a lot of different opinions out there on the World Wide Web. But Jason was taking that on, and he did a good job, and he helped bring a lot of people around on taxes and issues that he was passionate about. So for that, I know he brought and added a ton to this council, and I will truly miss him, and I consider Jason my friend, and will continue to be friends with Jason. And I want to let each and every one of you know that you're welcome here anytime. We want your perspective. And when I said that Mr. Amador will hold us accountable, Jason will be the one calling Mr. Amador to bring him to the meeting to back him up to hold us accountable. Because that is Jason McEldowney. And I personally want to thank you, Jason, for all you've done. And I want to allow the council an opportunity to say some parting words. I'll start with Mr. Amador.
Thank you, Jason, for your service. You were appointed as I was appointed. You campaigned. You were elected. And your second term of election, I know you struggled all the way to the very last day for that petition to turn that in. And so, JD and Steve, y'all drug him through the finish line and drug him to another starting line, and he's finished it. And so his family has known local government for approximately 10 years now, and that's a long time. So I wanted to say thank you. And when I first met you, I believe we were at the rec center, and there was a problem at the rec center swimming pool. And not only was Jason reactive and open and receptive, he was responsive, and he got some things solved. And that was over 5 years ago, because it's been that long that I've known him. And so when I got on council, I always referred to that guy as Clark Kent of Superman. So he kind of looks like Clark Kent with his glasses on. I'm like, God, this guy's foiled again. He's always making decisions based on data. And he would take this council to the next level of what does this really mean in passing an ordinance, and we need to study that again. And sometimes it was frustrating, and he did bring his point across to everyone multiple times. And so to that Superman, I'm sure we will cross paths again. Feel free to drag me back to city council, or I'll drag you, and we will come under citizens communication. So thank you.
Mr. Diaz.
Councilman McEldowney, definitely knew you back in pre-2011, and back during that appointment, one of the reasons why I obviously gravitated towards you, and Dominic, of course, was similar to Councilman Amador, of how you had a young kid. You had a wife who was also a teacher. You grew up in Aurora, much like I did. We lived about 5 minutes away from each other. And now here we are, 2011, or what year are we in? 2017. 2017, and still finding different ways that we can kind of connect. I know that you were giving me pointers on my son and lacrosse and all that fun stuff. I obviously think very highly of you. I still remember back in 2015 when I got asked to run this time around, there were a few people that I texted, and you were one of them, just to kind of get your feedback on whether you thought it was a good idea or not. So obviously I hold you and your family in high regard. So I'll leave all the cheesy comments for later, but I just wanted to publicly thank you for all you've done for me, both professionally and personally. So thank you.
Mr. Bullock.
Jason, when I first ran in 2009, Jason didn't know what to expect from me. He had heard the rumors about who I was and what I was and everything, and he was very leery of the fact that, okay, he's coming back and he's going to be a disruptor. I made it a point to make Jason my friend and let him know that the only disruption was going to be done, that we would do it together. And we would make this council great. And we did. You may not know it, and if you look up here, you're looking at the greatest council that I've ever served on. And it's because of every one of these people. But what they said about Jason, I can say and magnify 10 times, because if Jason didn't agree on an issue, he would let you know until you agreed or until you gave him a good reason why you didn't. He's thorough and he's thoughtful. Thank you, Jason, for being my friend.
Mr. Teeter.
Yes, well, it's hard to say anything else except for what they've already said here, Jason, but I want to touch on a couple things. I love when you talk about your dad with me. Well, we share a lot of same things, and it's great to hear the stories, even though you're a retired fireman too. I'm a retired fireman too. I love talking to you about your dad, and I hope he's doing better. The other thing is that I admired you for, outside of whatever everybody else said, was the way you treat staff. We hammer them, and before the night's over, you're going to make a point that remember that we're putting staff in a bind here. We're putting them in a position here where it's going to take a lot of work. This thing that we want to do, is it going to cost staff to put a lot more time in and man hours, or do we have the man hours to handle that? So you looked out for staff, and that's great. It brings us back. Like I said, we get to hammering on something and we forget about staff. So yeah, appreciate that.
Councilwoman, or let's go with Mr. Douglas.
Thank you. Councilman McEldowney, I've known you for 12 years and served with you for 6. And, I look at everybody up here like family, brothers and sisters. We've had some heated discussions about things. And, again, just like with JD, I got to do my homework. And I appreciate, you, I also looked at you and your guidance and wisdom. Sometimes I didn't appreciate it, but, that's family, okay? It's a love-hate relationship. And, it is. It's tough. It really is. When you're here, you put things in perspective, and you always get somebody in your ear saying, hey, you got to look at this, and why are you doing this? And it's like, well, let me tell you why I'm doing this. But I appreciate your wisdom as well, and I appreciate your family, and their time that they have given up, because you have a daughter you care and love. You have a wife that appreciates who you are and loves you as well, and you're going to be missed here. And so, but like I said, a lot of things everybody has said, I'm not going to repeat it, but I do appreciate you, and I see you as my friend as well. Thank you.
Councilwoman Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Jason, it's been a pleasure to work alongside you these past 6 years. In the very beginning, everything was so chaotic for all of us coming in, and I can honestly say that I felt I gravitated towards you because I felt like you wanted to maybe turn my way of thinking to your way of thinking. I don't know. No, but you were offering guidance to me in some of the things that I just really didn't understand, and I appreciate your insight and your guidance and your advice. And you would give me these scenarios as far as, well, look at the big picture. And you would go from A to B to Z twice, maybe 3 times, but I got it eventually. But I liked the way that you were thorough about things that you brought forward to me so that I could understand. It's also pretty cool that Julie and I have the same birthday. Just had to shout out for Aries. But no, I just, I thank you for your vision, because I can't just say it's just a service. It's a vision, right? It was always, we can't look at these things 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10. We have to look at these things big picture, and what's it going to take to get from here to there. And I liked that, and that's one thing that I can definitely take away from working with you is just your insightful vision that what's this going to look like in 20 years from now. I wish you the best. I'm truly going to miss serving with you. I know that we'll cross paths again, but I wish you the best for your family and with your new endeavors, and take care.
Mr. McEldowney, I want to thank you for all of your service to this community.
Oh, you can talk.
Now you can have the floor, Mr. McEldowney.
So in light of all the comments about how long-winded I can be, I will do my very best to not be long-winded tonight. 10.5 years is a long time. I appreciate Mr. Amador's decision this year. My daughter was 1.5 years, about 2 years old, when I fell into this whole unfolding of the last 10.5 years, and I could certainly find a few people who I would say today, you were not honest with me when I was exploring this opportunity. Just a Monday night, a few hours on a Monday, it's not going to be that big a deal. Well, then there are the other boards and commissions, and we've heard about the dinners and the events, et cetera. And as you heard from several folks, I can't just... my Irish grandfather used to say, if you're going to do anything, do it right. Don't do anything half-assed. And so I have a penchant for homework when it comes to these things. And so I found a lot of time spent really trying to get my head around what it was we were facing on any given night. The respect that Mr. Teeter talked about with regard to staff is because these are the unsung heroes of our community. We're elected. We make a conscious decision to step into this, and I don't think any of us have a full sense of what it really takes until you've done it for a little while. Staff, on the other hand, nobody thinks about them on the average unless something goes wrong. These are people who have made a decision to contribute themselves to a community for what is, for all intents and purposes, a very thankless role. We don't see them We're quick to gripe about potholes on the road. We're quick to gripe if the street light is out. We're quick to gripe if the police don't come fast enough. But I don't think that at the end of the day, the average citizen has any idea of how much goes into helping keep a city moving forward. And so when you've had an opportunity to spend the time that we have with our staff and see the amount of work that goes in behind the scenes to make things work, even if they're imperfect from your eyes, it is an exceptional job. And so my thanks to staff for all you've done to help us to be effective and successful. We certainly wouldn't have been without your efforts. So many days were school days, learning from you, gaining insights, gaining perspectives, and being able to put those to work for ourselves. To council, it's hard to find those little tidbits over the decade that really make sense. I can only say thank you for putting up with the tolerating those late meetings, for humoring me. It was revenge for the 1 minute, 2 minute phone call requests from JD that inevitably turned into a 2 hour or 3 hour phone call. I just have to say that of the time I served, these last years with this council were exceptional. I was given the opportunity to see how poorly a council can operate, how bad that can be to a community, and how strong a council can be and how positive an effect that can have on a community. And all I can say is to those of you stepping in, and I tried to write this in my outgoing council column, take every day as a learning opportunity, trust and develop the trust with staff, and learn to develop that trust with this council. Think of the Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner as a kid. Fight like hell, and then end the day as friends. Or if you're Mr. Teeter, go grab a beer with everybody. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to serve. It's been a great honor, so thank you.
Thank you, Jason. All right, we're getting there. One more to go. And it's the tough one for me. Mr. Bullock, you know, I always had a little rule where I was gonna make the mayor pro tem, the person with the most experience, the most time on their hands, and everything else. Renee. Me and him started, let me see, I was elected in 99, and Renee was on the council. And I think he'd been on there about a year.
98.
He got on in 98, I got on in 99, and he went off, and I served a couple of years without him. And then he came back, and then we served up until, what was it, like 07. We both went off together. And then he came back after 2 years, and I came back after 4, and we've served another 8. So we have spent, another 6. You're another 8. But we have served for a long time. And the only thing that makes this easier for me is I've already been down this road once with Mr. Bullock and had to say goodbye, and he just comes back again. So I could tell you right now, I know I need to not get too emotional because he's coming back, and you all need to know that. He will be back. Renee has been that one guy over the years that I could count on to be right here beside me, to run a meeting. And, you know, when he said that he lost it in that one meeting when I wasn't here, it's because he would lose it every Monday night if it wasn't for me reaching over and telling him, I'm not going to let you talk tonight. You need to just go in timeout and take a break and think about what you're going to say. And I could tell you I have saved Mr. Bullock a lot of heartache by telling him, no, you need to listen to me, you just calm down. But he's always been there for me, too. If he sees that I start getting emotional about something or I start getting upset about something, he's always been that guy that goes, hey, Sean, You need to calm down. I could tell you're in a bad mood tonight. You know what? You need to get rid of that before you run this meeting, because the people in the audience don't deserve to see you in a bad mood. You don't take it out on them. So we've always helped each other. He's been a great friend for a long, long time, and will continue to be one of my best friends forever. I know that he's not going far. I truly expect Mr. Bullock to run for mayor in 2 years if his wife will let him. But I will tell you, he's the one guy that I could count on when I was gone to run a meeting, to run the meeting the way I would run it, to handle business the way I would handle it. And at one point in time, we had a colleague that said we were twins. And I would tell you, he was pretty darn accurate. The only difference between me and Mr. Bullock is I have hair. Otherwise, we are exactly the same. And, you know, we talk about that all the time and tease each other about that all the time. We don't always vote the same. I have never, and I know mayors in the past have always said, Mayor Pro Tem, you need to back me up. I have never, ever asked Rene to vote my way or to see things my way. He always has brought his own opinion to this council. And I'll never forget one particular meeting. It wasn't this particular council, it was council previous, but we had an item on the agenda, and I was the only no vote. And so the mayor got outvoted by the other 8 members of council. And I went over and I said, Rene, really? You left me hanging out there by myself? And he goes, well, yeah, don't do something stupid again. That's what you get. So he has always kept me in my place. And he was the one guy that I could always call, and he would reassure me that it's going to be all right. You know what, Sean, it's not going to be as bad as you think. I know we got a tough meeting coming up. There's only going to be 500 people there. And, you know, if I was the mayor, I'd be worried, but it's going to be all right. And he would always help me. He would always help to push me through the door and deal with the tough issues. But I could tell you a lot of stories about me and Rene, and I'm not going to go into too much depth or I will start crying, because I'm going to let him cry enough for the both of us. But the good news is, Mr. Bullock, I know that I will be voting for you here in a couple of years, and I know that you will continue to be a part of this community. And the one thing a lot of people don't realize is Rene was very active in the Colorado Municipal League. He serves on, and I have to tell you a story about this one, but Friends of the Front Range, and I know Dave's here in the audience. I took Rene to the Friends of the Front Range out here at the refuge, and I said, Rene, you got to go out there to a meeting with me. We should be a part of this. And I got Rene out there, and the next meeting, Rene couldn't be there. And I nominated him and got him elected as the treasurer of the board. And Rene told me, he said, I owe you big time, but why are you doing this to me? And then it wasn't long after that I got him to join the Rotary Club, and he now is the past president of the Commerce City Rotary Club, which I don't think there's much higher honors that you can earn above being the president of a Rotary Club. And he did a great job. Sand Creek Regional Parkway. Rene always had these little pieces that he played that without Rene playing those parts, a lot of those things wouldn't have had membership. And he's done an extremely good job of representing this city. And for the things that I couldn't attend, he's been there to back me up, and he's done a great job of it. But I think one of the things that's most impressive to me about Rene and all of the time that he has served this community is I'll never forget when I first got started on the council, and Rene was young on the council. We were dealing with the cleanup of the Rocky Mountain Arsenal. And Rene wanted to get on a lot of these committees. And he served on the RAB and the cab, and I don't know how many of them there have been, countless numbers. And these are the committees that have sat down and fought about contamination in our community. And they would rake him over the coals, and he would go back for more and go back for more. And there's not too many people that would have done what he did when it came to the cleanup of the arsenal. And I don't know if a lot of people recall the efforts that Rene put into it, but he didn't stop there. He didn't stop at helping to get the arsenal cleaned up, and he played a huge role. And I will tell you, after all the years, nobody played more of a role in the cleanup of that arsenal on this city council than Mr. Bullock did. He was abused at meetings for more than a decade and a half over the cleanup of that arsenal. And I will tell you now, go out there and see what Mr. Bullock helped accomplish, because you all have something very great in this city because of those efforts. And that's one of the things that I will always remember. And I will tell you this, when he comes back, he will continue to work on making sure that refuge stays a big part of this community. It's a passion for him. I know he's going to continue to serve on Sand Creek Regional Greenway. I know he'll continue to be a Rotarian. I'm sure he wants to be the treasurer of the Friends of the Front Range again. But Mr. Bullock, I know you have given a lifetime to the cause of helping this community. So thank you. I want to allow some of your colleagues to speak before I allow you to. Mr. Amador.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My comments toward Mayor Pro Tem Rene Bullock. One word in letters. Capital W, capital O, capital W. Wow. There's just so many words that describe him that all I can say is wow. And I'm going to rewind a little bit before I even got on council, and I knew Rene way back in high school and seeing him at the rec center, and he still puts himself in that situation at the rec center where everybody got to give him a piece of their mind. But he might not even work out anymore, but I think he does. It's that great for him. But wow. Before I got on council, and it's not to take anything away from anybody on this council, I always lacked a role model that was a face of color. And I know that we have Inspire in the audience and some of the students that are here going to college and that kind of thing. And Rene was a role model for me in that capacity, because I could always talk to him, and I could always talk to Deborah and their daughter, and it just went down that road. But wow, what a dynamic individual. And to be able to sit here and serve with him and bounce things off of him and get his humor at times and watch him get carried away about something that he's passionate about. It's been a pleasure serving with you, so I'll be brief.
Mr. McEldowney.
Mr. Bullock gave a great backstory on how we first came to work together, and all I can say, and I'll keep it very simple, is how thankful I am that we got seated as we did, the ability to work together quietly here or vocally, and in so many capacities over the years. Truly blessed for that. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Mr. Teeter.
Yes, Rene. When I first got on council, I did not know Rene, and he did not know me at all. We knew of each other with my brothers and sister-in-law being on the council before us, and Rene being on the council. I heard a lot of stories about him. So when I got on, I give myself credit. I think I'm very good at sizing up people, and that's what I do when I get on the council or wherever I go. I basically size up each person to to see what I can get away with and what I can't get away with. And JD learned that real quick too. I have to go back to that. But he was after a while, I knew I could get along with Renee. And he'll tell you that I kid him a lot. And between me and Renee, we have this connection. And I can kid him and get away with it. He can kid me and get away with it. And we've always been great friends. And instead of me calling the lawyer or Brian or whoever, if I had a question, I always called Renee because he'd been around longer than anybody and he could give me the answer. And Renee, like I said, I know you're not through, and I consider you a great friend of mine, you and Deb, and we'll continue to party on.
Thank you. Mr. Diaz.
You know, Renee, I don't know if you remember this, but it's your fault that I'm sitting up here.
Yes, I remember.
Rewind back to 2015, the very first Commerce City leadership class. I remember Renee going up to me at the Wildlife Refuge, and he said, "Hey, Paulo, how come you're not running?" I said, "For what?" He's like, "For city council." And I'm like, "Why would I want to do that again?" And then he convinced me that it was somehow a good idea. And obviously, sitting up here now, it's been a distinct pleasure to be able to get to work with you again these last couple of years. I know it's hard for you to say goodbye. I know you're kind of having a hard time doing that. Seeing you on Saturday and just kind of talking and reflecting, I know you're just not going to go away and you're going to remain involved. I will miss having you run meetings. As JD and I like to point out, Renee's running the meeting, so we'll be done an hour early. No offense to you, Mayor Ford,
yeah,
but
right.
Those are conversations that occur behind the scenes when we whisper. But more than anything, it's just anytime I'm with Renee, I don't know what I'm getting. I'm either getting something that will make me happy and smile and laugh, or I'm getting some pure wisdom that will just make me a smarter man. And so with that, I truly appreciate the time that we've gotten to spend together, Renee. And, I tried to say goodbye to him tonight, and then he reminded me that I'll see him tomorrow at the Tower Road completion events, and then Wednesday at El Jardín, and then I'm sure that there are some other events that Renee will pop up in. So see you soon, and thank you.
Councilman Douglas.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for our years of service. I learned right away from Renee what to do and what not to do. We've traveled several places on leadership and building that knowledge. He's always said, "Hey, if you don't know something, ask and make sure you things on your mind, get them out there, because you don't want to, after a vote, say, well, hold on a second, let me just bring that back." So he brings a lot of perspective to the council and the knowledge. I mean, it goes deep, and I really appreciate his time. And I don't want to, there's several stories I could say about Renee, but one thing that stands true is he's an honest person, and I do appreciate him again as a friend. And he's going to be deeply missed. So appreciate it, Renee.
Councilwoman Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Renee, what can I say? That's it. Just kidding. I've known you a long time. I can honestly say that it's been a pleasure working alongside you these past 6 years, as I've said in every speech that I've given previously. And, I have to say you've given advice even when I didn't think I needed it, but I was glad that you gave it. Most of the time anyway. I liked your quick-witted humor. I liked that you were kind of on the spot. You had an answer for things, even if you really didn't have the answer for things. Either you made one up or you actually did have an answer for things. I enjoy our talks at the rec center. I like the fact that you referred people to talk to me about the steam room, which is fine. How about that steam room, Renee? What do you think about that steam room? You gave me some advice when I first decided to try to, and I say try, my failed attempt to getting appointed when the position came open when former Councilman Tony Johnson sat here. And I remember coming up to you and saying, well, what do you think I should have done differently? And you said, well, I think you should have given yourself, first of all, you should have more confidence within yourself, and you should speak your mind, and don't be afraid of what others think. And for those of you that know me, I'm an analytical person, so I soak in everyone else's comments, and I think about what's been presented to us by staff, and really try to make a sound decision. But it's not that I never took those words, to mind. I just wanted to listen and understand what I was saying. And any time that I would speak about something, you would push your chair back, and you'd look at me and be like, okay, be prepared because she's going to say something, good, bad, or indifferent. You gave me that respect, and I appreciate that. I will miss serving with you, but I know that I'll see you at the rec center, most likely even tomorrow, if I decide to go. And if I don't go, please don't ask where I'm at, because it makes me feel bad. It's judging me here. I'm just teasing. Renee, I wish you the best. I know that you're going to stay very active in the community, and I know you're not far away. I know you're not far enough away. This is my moment. I have this chance to just give this guy what for. But I respect you. I respect your passion in the community, and any time that we've ever had conversations, you have always discussed about things that you were passionate about, and that passion would somewhat rub off on me as well. And so I want to thank you for your years of service, and I look forward to see you continuing your work in the community. Take care.
Councilwoman Carson.
Well, since this has turned into a roast for Renee, I need to step in. Dominic, you'll appreciate this story. It was our very first planning retreat. And somehow the topic of speeders came up. And so how are we going to stop all these speeders? Well, we're going to stop them with radar guns. And somebody said, well, we don't have the money for those radar guns. And Renee said, you don't need any money, just a blow dryer. If everybody in the city gets their blow dryer and stands out on the corner and points it at a car, those drivers will think you have a radar gun, and they will all slow down. And I looked at Dominic, and it's like, 3.5 years left. But thank you, Renee. I have always enjoyed that. And then before we leave, I need to ask for forgiveness since you did take the train. And the audience doesn't need to know the story, but I had convinced Mr. Bullock that to get to D.C., he needed to take the train to Baltimore.
Oh, Jesus.
From fly into Baltimore and then take the train to D.C. And I thought it was a fabulous experience, and he didn't have the same adventure. So please forgive me for that.
That was the worst advice that you could give to
I forgot you were there.
Rick was there.
Jim Benson.
Steve was there.
It was Renee that said, Mayor, you should do this. We're going with Mr. Benson and going to take the plane to Baltimore and the train to D.C. When Jim Benson hauls 4 suitcases with his entire office in it, and you have to try to walk the length of a train, and Jim Benson couldn't handle all of his luggage, I will never go to Baltimore again. Maybe not even ride a train again because of that experience. Mr. Bullock, I want to thank you for all the service that you've given this community, and for all the service that you have yet to give this community. So thank you for everything you've done. All right, I'll let you talk. I did the same thing to Jason, and all that is just an icebreaker so that you can get through your speech. All right, you have the floor, Renee.
Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, thank you. Thank you, council. Thank you very much. First people I want to thank is staff. Without staff, nothing gets done. We have a lot of great ideals. We have a lot of great things that we want to do, but nothing gets done without staff. And anybody can have a staff, but we have a really knowledgeable staff. We have a staff that will actually stop you before you get started if you're going down the wrong direction. Michelle, thank you. There is many a time that I have said to Michelle, well, I'm going to do this. And she says, you know, you can do that because you're the councilman. But I don't think it's a good idea. So right away, I realized that anytime she says, I don't think I would do that if I were you, or that's not a good idea, I stop and I rethink it. I want to thank our city manager. Our city manager is the best city manager in the metro area. And the reason I know this is because everybody steals everybody from Commerce City. We have sent more people to Moore City as city managers, as everything, because we are the best training ground, and when they leave here, they can go anywhere and step into the top position. And it isn't because of us up here, it's because of them down there. So thank you very much. Robert Sheasley. That's our city attorney. But sitting behind him back there is Bob Gaylor. Bob Gaylor was the city attorney from the time we were incorporated until a year ago, wasn't it? Yes. A year ago. As you walk into this place, this is Bob Gaylor's room. The name on the door is the Bob Gaylor Council Hall. And so everybody has to pay Bob before you leave. Okay, you should have paid them before when they came in, Bob. You aren't going to get much money on the way out. I want to thank everybody in staff. I want to thank everybody in every department. I have been here and I have seen all the departments. Maria, I see you out there. Thank you. Maria went with me in the snow to drive down alleys because the people wanted them paved. But we graded them and the people were happy. You know, but this is what happens when you have a great staff, because all you need to do is let the city manager know first what you're about to do, and then go to that staff person, and they are very accommodating. Carolyn, where are you? Wave. Carolyn.
She waved.
She is our Park and Recreation Director. Me and Carolyn have really nice talks some morning when I'm trying to work out. Sometimes I don't get to work out as much as I want because Carolyn says, can I bounce this idea off you? And so no matter how much time it takes, I take the time to listen, because if they want to talk to you, it's got to be something that's important to them, so then it becomes important to me because it's going to be important to the people of the city. I see finance out there. Okay, wave your hand, finance. Yeah. The one person that isn't here that I'm looking for was Roger. Roger started in finance here. And if you've ever seen anybody take a penny and squeeze it and make it 2 pennies, that was Roger. I have never seen anybody as conservative with a budget that we would say, we want to do this. And we would look over at Roger, and Roger would be looking like, and then you see sweat start pouring down him. But Roger passed on finance to 2 people that are absolutely Roger times 2. And, I mean, all you have to do is look at the city and where we're going and where we've been to know that it's working. Human resources, wave your hand out there. Kathy, I'm going to tell you, when something isn't right, you will get an email from Kathy, and that means show up. You know, don't just make a call. Come to her office, because if she's going to call you, she has a reason to call you. And that's, you show up, and guess what? Usually it takes 5 minutes and it's done. With me, it takes a little bit longer sometimes. Economic development. Wave your hand out there. Okay. I don't know if you know what's happening in this city, but if you look around, that's because of that lady out there, Michelle. Economic development is getting done. Things would be happening in Commerce City that you don't even know. I could tell you stuff that would get me killed. You know, honestly, we have executive decisions that they tell you don't say nothing to anybody. So I'm not going to tell you, but guess what? Ooh, you don't know what's about to happen.
Go ahead and say it, Renee.
No, I'm not going to get killed today.
Blow up.
Yeah. Okay. Laura Bauer, wave your hand. This lady is here every week, and she makes sure that everything is running smooth, that we go through it. We have a transcript up here that there is no way you can mess it up unless you intentionally want to mess it up. So, and we've done that before too, you know. You go, instead of turning the pages one at a time, you turn two, and then you realize you've missed a whole half of the meeting. But that's okay. The meetings go quicker that way. So thank you, staff. Thank you for everything you've done to help me. Oh, no, I'm holding her for last. Okay. No, okay. I already told her I was going to talk about her.
Okay.
Where are you? You know who I'm talking about. Raise your hand. Lisa, don't pretend like you don't hear me out there. Okay. That is the backbone of everybody sitting up here. If anything is going wrong with anything, if you need to know something, if you need to have travel arrangements, if you get somewhere and they don't know you're supposed to be there, there's the lady you call, Lisa. And guess what? It gets fixed every time. Ask the mayor. Where did you go? What time did you get to Charlotte?
4 or 5 o'clock in the morning?
4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and they wouldn't let him check in the hotel. He said to them, don't let me have to make Lisa call you. You know what? They told him, okay, we have your room ready, sir. We'll talk to you later, but you can check in now. She's known far and wide throughout the United States. So if, to the new council, anything you need to have done, walk into Lisa's office, and if she can't do it, then don't do it. You know, because then you're on your own. Okay. Council, thank you for everything. Thank you for the support. Thank you for everything you've done for us and for this city, because without this council, I said it once, and I'm going to say it again. This is the greatest council I've ever been on, and I've been on councils under 4 mayors. And this council has gotten more done and has done more for this city than you could shake a stick at. And if you ever see anyone out there shaking a stick at this place, stop them. You know, okay, now I'm going to stop. Okay, there's one thing I want to say, and I want to make this family. Thank you to my wife. Now I'm going to get choked up. And my daughter and my family, because without family, you are in a boat without oars. You're doing something, but it isn't getting you nowhere. So there's many a time when you will go home and you will be upset, and you can't even talk to your family about what you're upset about. But they're there for you. And I'm going to tell the council that's about to be seated, put your faith in your family even when you can't talk to them. And just tell them, if you knew what I knew, you'd be scared. So you don't want to know. And that's really a lie, because nothing is that scary, you know. But to this new council that's about to be seated, 6 years ago, family was taken out of the equation on council. They didn't think family meant that much, so they said, oh, the little benefits that family have, we're going to take away and make this more smooth running. It was a mistake then, and I'm going to say it again. Reinvest in families. When you go on trips, put your family on a voucher or put money in for your families to go. When you have dinners, make sure that you're sitting there with your husband or your wife or somebody that is close to you that you can confide in. Bring family back to the council. Put the money in it and invest in your family, and I guarantee you it will pay off 1,000% down the road. And the people that were on council when we used to have it, and I think it's only Sean, realize that family is the most important thing that you have, because after you get home and there's nothing left, you do have your family there. So you on council now and you on council that are about to be seated, reinvest in your family, because that's your love. That's where your heart is. This is where my heart is, but that's my love out there. Thank you. Thank you.
Now I'd like to ask the outgoing council members, one at a time, to come down front to be recognized. I'm going to start with Mr. Bullock.
I know who I am. I recognize me.
Come on, Mr. Bullock. Reserve parking spot. Remember, don't put that in the public right away or they will give you a citation. And your picture. And I just want you to know, if it was up to me and I had use of the budget, Renee get a gold watch because he deserves one. Let's go with Mr. McEldowney. Come on now. Set up somewhere in the garage or something. Here's your picture. No, you know what? Honestly, for you, I think you should put it up. Thank you for everything. I expect to see that. Rick, put it on the front of the house. Young Amador. Well, I thought you'd be doing this for me a long time before I did it for you. Okay, at this time, I'm going to close the City Council meeting and open the organizational meeting for the City of Commerce City.